Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, giant blue feathered chickens, this is Aaron the Pedantic, and today we are going to be looking at an article on Dicebreaker. They are the purveyors of truth and wisdom, of reality. They bend and shape the minds of all those who participate in the tabletop and other board game hobbies. That is who they are. And we're going to be looking at an article that they wrote about Dark Souls, the TTRPG, which is a 5th edition version. It is not its own proprietary system, but it is using the 5th edition D&D OGL. And people are mad. I cannot say that this could not be predicted. This is something that it's going to happen whenever you have these very, very quickly done obvious cash grabs. That is exactly what this is. And it's going to be demonstrated very quickly just by looking at what this article presents. I don't own it. I don't have it on my person. I didn't put any money into it. I kind of saw the writing on the wall and I said, number one, this is a degenerate idea to try and take something that is meant for solo play and to try and create it around a 5th edition setup. That was just my particular take, which, it's not popular, but that's okay. My second concern was that they were already working on they as in the company was already working on an entirely other RPG, the RuneScape one. Actually, I used to play that game. The RuneScape RPG, which was also going to be for the 5th edition rule set, although again, using the OGL. So working on those two products simultaneously, and the fact that as far as I was able to find, they had yet to actually produce a single tabletop role-playing game themselves. They had done many board games, but I hadn't seen anything in their track record about actually doing the role-playing games. And this raised some alarms. Well, let's see how they did. We do have some comments. I'll get to the comments after I get through the meat of the subject. And so yeah, just go ahead and throw them down and we'll get to them. But let's look at this article, this very sexy, sleek, well done, professional article. Apologies for the ads. The ads are commonplace. That's just how that website functions. The link is in the description if you want to check it out for yourself. Okay, so what do we got here? It was released in the last month and is due in the US on May 16th. 500-page rule book. $50 or 50 pounds, which I find interesting that it's not more dollars. I don't know. There's got to be some reason for that. Here we have a picture of it. Oh, it looks like a sexy, sleek, looks like it's got glossy pages and all the stuff that you would expect from a big production kind of company. It looks fancy. It looks real fancy. Well, unfortunately, some people who purchased this $50 book and some who are even more fortunate as they purchased the collector's edition valued at 95 pounds or dollars are reporting some errors that are absolute insanity. On Twitter, I was cursing. I'm not going to curse here. I'm not going to curse here because I don't want to be demonetized. But this is reprehensible that this happened, and I will explain why. So here's an example here. In one glaring example spotted by players, the knight class. Now, just as a note, it says class. It really should be considered origin because it does have an open leveling system. It's not a specific class thing from what I understand, unless they did something different for this, which is one of the things I was kind of concerned about. It's like, there's so many reasons why you wouldn't want to use Dark Souls. That was one of them. So people can correct me if they did actually go through with that for the purpose of the role-playing game. However, traditionally in Dark Souls games, you don't have classes. You just have a starting point. You can build up your character however you choose from that point. And, it's kind of piecemeal. It's really meant for the kind of thing that you would do like a point buy system and, choose your own, this thing and that thing and whatever. Character builds. Okay. Anyway, so it is possible to create, actually, not only is it possible, it is 100% possible, it will happen every time, that if you create a character using the knight class, that you will be given armor you can't use, or at least equipment. At least equipment. It says you have to have 16 strength to use this particular item, and you can only get up to 15. How does this okay, and it's not the only one. It's not the only one. It says the caster origin doesn't have enough strength to wield the cleric class's starting weapon, despite being recommended as a suitable origin for the class. Imagine, if you will, creating your character for Dungeons and Dragons or any other tabletop role-playing game. You roll up your character, you check through these things, you get your starting equipment, and you assume that you can use everything that's in your starting equipment. Why would you be starting with starting equipment you can't use, unless just to tease you? In which, okay, maybe that's some kind of hardcore interpretation of what Dark Souls is, because you do get weapons and stuff that you can't use, and you got to get stronger in order to use it, and blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry, but if you get a starting weapon, then usually it's a piece of garbage in Dark Souls. So we're already venturing outside of the territory that you're usually going to have by trying to emulate Dark Souls. You start out with kind of pieces of garbage that are easy to use. No problem whatsoever. Why wouldn't you be able to use the thing that you're wielding? Why? I'll tell you why. Because they didn't play test it. They did not play test it. They did not sit down, roll up characters using their own rules, and then, you get their starting equipment and then play the dang thing. They didn't do it. And if they did, then they just somehow, miraculously, after all kinds of play, never realized, wow, we put up this restriction here and we can't get through it. Or maybe they arbitrarily decided eventually, wow, we should put some stat restrictions on these things, but they never realized that it's impossible for you to wield the thing when you first create your character. Guys, understanding the power level of a starting character is the easiest thing in design. It's understanding what they're capable of further on that things get complicated. That this is amateur. It is absolute amateur. I mean, I'm flabbergasted. They call themselves professionals. They put out this big fancy book, and charge people all this money, and it ends up being so untested that you can't even use the equipment that you get on character creation. That is pathetic. Pathetic. Okay, that's not all. All right. So here they have this fall control spell requiring the player to make a dexterity saving throw against their own spell difficulty class. For those who don't know, your spell difficulty class gets better as you level up. Your dexterity saving throw might get better as you level up. If you're not proficient in dexterity saving throws, which you may be, but if you're not, then it's only going to go up if you increase your dexterity stat. But your spell difficulty class is always going to go up, where it becomes a situation, a very probable one, where your character is either never going to get any better at casting this spell as they level up, or they actually get worse at it. How do you do? I would love to hear from the designers. What in the heck were they thinking? Okay, here's another thing. All right. The Firelink Greatsword weapon requires the player to spend 2 points of basically HP in order to heal just 1 point of HP. It says making its effect redundant. That actually makes it regressive. You're losing HP trying to heal yourself. I mean, what? Okay. So here we have now this. Okay, now this is sad. This is clearly lack of forethought and cohesive rule building. Proofreading. Like I said, playtesting. Even, but here we have a direct contradiction. If you drop to 0 HP, 0 position, you're dead. It's over. But guess what? And notice here, there's nothing here about any kind of period where you can be spared or anything like that. No, here they have this thing for a healing kit, which of course is straight out of 5th edition. So they used something that was new to their game, and then they pulled something straight from 5th edition that completely counteracts what this says, because this says that if you're at 0 HP, then somebody can stabilize you using a healer's kit. I'm sorry, I thought you just said that they are dead. Which one is it? This is so lazy. So lazy. I mean, it looks like all they did was replace HP with the words 0 position. That's it. It looks like that's all they did. Oh, God. Okay. Here's another. Okay, no. Here's the one that they were showing before. The fall control spell. You make a dexterity saving throw against their spell DC. On a successful saving throw, they take no damage. On a failed saving throw, they only take half damage. Okay. So you get worse at it. That's the problem. Because ultimately, what this will still make you not take full damage, which is nice, I guess. But the problem is that, like I said, you can get worse at it. What? Even. They should have used a static DC. There's no reason not to use a static DC. None whatsoever. It's absolute foolishness. Okay. So, what do they say here? Oh yeah. So here we have Crystal Soul Spear, which, if you're familiar with Crystal Soul Spear, it is a typical Dark Souls spell. What does it do? You create this giant spear of like soul energy, and then you hurl it at them, right? Okay, well, let's see what the spell description is for Crystal Soul Spear. The hand bearing your pyromancy glove erupts into flame lasting for 1 turn. It can be used to make a melee attack, which if successful deals 3d6 fire damage. Blah, 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 blah. Does that... Oh... Look at this. It's a melee attack. It's a melee attack with a range of 120 feet. All they did, they just put the wrong spell information right here. That's it. Part secret. This part belongs to a pyromancy spell. It has nothing to do with Crystal Soul Spear. How does this happen? I just don't understand. I just don't understand. Okay, well, let's look at their announcement. Oh, man. At Steamforged, our primary goal is always to create compelling tabletop experiences that capture the hearts and imaginations of our fans, immersing them in vivid worlds they can get lost in time and time again. While we feel we've achieved that with Dark Souls, the role-playing game, in light of the overwhelming positive reviews, we acknowledge the concerns some have raised and take all feedback seriously. Although these concerns shouldn't affect the playability of the game, we're always striving to strengthen our processes and ensure our loyal fans continue to enjoy the games we release. Okay, so what are they saying? They're saying that in spite of all these things, it's still, they still believe that they have done what they set out to do, that they created this great role-playing game that will allow people to enthrall themselves into this Dark Souls thing. That's what they're saying that they have achieved. They believe that they've achieved that goal. They're claiming there are overwhelming positive reviews. I cannot confirm nor deny that, as I have not investigated that. I've seen only negative stuff, but I haven't looked for any positive stuff. So it might be out there. And they're saying that it shouldn't affect the playability of the game. Well, how true is that? So we have one spell that's completely pretty much foobar. You can kind of understand that they probably meant for some other spell to be this, and this is just a spell you just make up your own or something. They're going to find something to figure it out. What else do we have? They probably have the real ones online somewhere that the sage advice, I guess, is what this is going to look like. They probably are going to come up with some fix for this. Does this game unplayable? Not really. It's again, it's one of those things that any kind of game master is going to be able to figure out how to fix. They shouldn't have to. They really shouldn't have to, especially whenever they put their hard-earned cash into this thing and they're receiving a physical copy. When you're receiving a physical copy, it's not supposed to be this sloppy. Do that with a PDF that you're sending out as like a test where people can point out mistakes and then you can later on release the full thing. No, not in the freaking full end, $50 to $90 copy that you're mailing to people's addresses in a physical product that isn't going to get changed later. They backed you. They believed in you. And you're shafting them by being this pathetic. It is sad. It is sad. There are more errors. I could go through them. I don't really see the point. This is enough as it stands to warrant me saying that this is a garbage release. They should be ashamed of themselves. I don't know what the heck they were thinking. Maybe they were up on the time limit. They're like, we promised it by this time. Send it out. Maybe that, but that is never the best solution. The problem is that you get these Kickstarter campaigns that take years and years or never even come. That is sad. I hate that. But if this was a case of the clock was, it couldn't be that, because I remember them funding this. It was not that long ago. It was just a few months ago. My friends were saying, "Oh yeah, I funded this." I don't get it. I really don't get it. This is just sad. I don't know. Let's see what you guys have to say. I've rambled off on it for long enough. I don't have, too terribly long to continue. Okay, let's see what we got. All right, we got some comments. Such a difficult game. Nicholas Stanishek says, yes, the publishing industry is such an difficult game. But it's not that difficult. It's the publishing part. It cannot be that difficult. The thing is whenever you are this amateur, then this is what the result is going to be. You have to have standards. There are poor standards here, clearly. Okay. Stephen Clow, what? Here's your gear, but you can't use it. Lame. Exactly. Like, I mean, no, I really can't fathom it. It'd be better off to just start them off with a femur and just say you got to beat people to death with it, and rather than to give them a knight's sword that they just can't wield properly. God. Wizard Jim says, some of these issues are unforgivable for a prestige product like this. There is a feather fall spell that gets worse as you level up. The katana is special to sacrifice 4 HP to avoid 4 HP damage. Are you serious? The katana is special. My God. How does that happen? How? Oh. It's like True Strike. It's worse than doing nothing. Okay. Dark Knight of Hibernia says, unironically, I would probably do a better job making a Dark Souls RPG from how Aaron is reacting. I believe you probably would. You have an eye for this in a way that they don't. And I can't help but wonder, do they even 5e bro? Because well, okay, they probably Dark Souls, but do they even 5e bro? Because you and we're not even really deep into 5th edition, and this is painfully obvious that these things are going to, lead to terrible results. Stephen Klaus says, Castles and Crusades RPG does cost, similar to contemporary RPG games, role-playing games, ATM machine, but very playable. Currently using it on a one-on-one with my wife, a human fighter. Yeah, Castles and Crusades is a professionally made game by people that love to play role-playing games and play the system that they're creating. I think that is the biggest problem here. Is I think that they didn't play test it enough. They couldn't have. There's no way. Um, and what? How can you not like just have people proofread it? You know? Okay. No Fun Allowed says, if I had the license to make a Dark Souls game, I wouldn't put in any effort. Why put in time, money, and effort when I would make money off the name alone? I mean, where's the lie? Because then we would tear you into the ground in FA. We can't stand this kind of thing. We true gamers, the ones that aren't just going to put it on the shelf and say, look, I've got a Dark Souls RPG. Isn't that cool? We were going to tear you to pieces if you did that. Instead, we get to tear Steam Forged games to pieces. Wizard Jim says there is an original Dark Souls RPG out in Japan. They could have just translated it. Instead, we get this. It is a sad state of affairs. Nicholas says it's garbage. Don't waste your time on it. Nothing to see here. Move along. That is true. However, I did want to at least let people see what kind of garbage it is we're talking about. If they were so inclined to do so, especially if they're the types to listen instead of read, because I do know a few people that don't really read articles. And so, yeah, I'm your article reader. Congratulations. You'll have to trust me that I read it accurately. Dark Knight of Hibernia says, as a fan of D&D and Dark Souls, that crystal spell screw up pisses me off. Yes, it does me too. I mean, that's just a blatant screw up. Dark Knight of Hibernia says, with how bad the game looks, this looks like Bethesda level quality. It just works. Now, Radelk says, I think the devs did an interview on Ask the Smart Party podcast. I wasn't actively listening to it, honestly. I don't remember them sounding unprofessional. Sound surprised it came out this way. Well, so they sound professional from a corporate standpoint. Clearly, the message that they put out from their PR sounds coherent, and it sounds like something that makes sense and is technically true, and may be a reason for some people to say, oh, I guess that's true, so it's fine. So it works in that capacity. That is being professional, I guess. There's a kind of professionalism. But to me, the greater standard of professionalism is, do I put out a product that is, worth the quality, worth the money? Do I make my customer happy? That is primary function of professional. Not can I make a good apology? Can I say good things in public? But can I make good product? And I'd have to listen to the podcast to really see what kind of things they were throwing down there. I don't know. Maybe somebody can say in the comments what they gleaned from that. At this point, it's already out, and it looks like kind of garbage. I will say, it's not really something that I ever had too much interest in. I would be a lot more interested in something that tries to emulate Darkest Dungeon than I would Dark Souls. I just don't feel like it's appropriate. Maybe a solo RPG. I'd be interested in maybe a solo RPG of Dark Souls if I was interested in solo RPGs, but I'm not. So. Moving along, I guess, exactly as Nicholas said. Malazan says, hello, how's it going? Or Malazan. And we have Michael Stronghold saying, good designers are super rare. Getting overly attached to bad ideas is super common. So much ego. I'm genuinely curious what the hiring process was like for this product. I just can't. I just can't even. I would like to see what the credits page is like. Do they even have editors? Do they even have proofreaders? Do they even have playtesters? How did this get through so many people and still end up that blatantly bad? Just that not good. I mean, the most you could say is they probably have some decent writing in there as far as can they put sentences on the page that are evocative and make you want to keep reading? And I think that may be a problem, that there are actually a lot of people that are more concerned with the fluff than they are with, does the game work? And I think that's a symptom of the fact that there are so many people that buy games but never play them. And I think that this is just a growing issue. There are going to be more and more people that get lifted up as great designers, but really they're just okay writers. They're okay at making you feel things whenever you read their texts. But as far as producing great game content, maybe they're not that good. Maybe they're just good at inspiring you, and that's it. And I don't think that's enough. Not whenever you're creating a rule book. Okay, we got one more comment, and then I'm gonna go ahead and head out. It is a day of continued ongoing work, and I have other things that I want to do in videos, so we'll keep this one short and sweet. Dark Knight says, Dark Souls to me should be just a setting. The mechanics would be difficult to replicate in tabletop role-playing games. I don't know. That I'll have to chew on that. I think they did create a board game, and it's probably, I would be more interested in seeing what the board game is like. But Dark Souls the RPG, I just don't know, guys. It's too somber and dark and slow and macabre and all those kinds of things for me to really see it as being engaging role-playing game material. Too brooding. I don't know. That's just me. One more. Michael Stronghold says, fluff the resumes working on projects made from actual creatives. I'm pretty sure that could represent reality. Yes, that could very well. You know what? Okay, let's say that somebody who made this thing watches this video. I am not trying to insult you personally. I am just surprised. I don't understand how this happened. I'm not saying that the game is absolute garbage. Whenever I say that, I'm referring to the fact that the product as a whole suffers immensely from the lack of quality assurance on these particular issues. And that whenever you have those kinds of things going on, it makes everything questionable. And I wouldn't be surprised if there are people that actually put the game into motion and play for a significant length of time and just find that there are things that just don't work well together. Because again, they just weren't play tested properly. That is my suspicion. We'll see what happens. Okay. A few more things. All right. Indigo says, but the setting is dark and macabre too. Yes. The setting is the reason that I don't see it being too terribly appropriate for tabletop role-playing gameplay. But I don't know. I'm tend to be a little bit more gonzo in my thinking, and I like the funny moments of levity and all that kind of stuff with the limbs being chopped off, terrible deaths and all that kind of stuff. So it's my personal thing. Redelk says, Stephen Lumpkin, Silent Osiris, runs a campaign on Jesse Cox's Twitch channel that's very Dark Souls, respawn mechanics in a super weird setting. He does a pretty good job. No idea what the rule set even is. So y'all can go check that out. And Indigo says, did the book get released yet? Yes, that's the problem. It has been released in the UK, is getting released in the US next month, and it seems like it is bad. James incorrectly notes that running against your own increasing difficulty class is actually a useful mechanic, but it's understandable why people bristle at it. No, it's not. All it does is in this situation, it puts you in a situation where as you level up, because the ability for you to do well with a spell becomes worse. And what is that supposed to signify? That your own propensity for better magic is even the magic? It's based off of your dexterity saving throw. So I'm like, well, okay, so it would be based off your own magic because it's spell save DC. That your propensity for your own magic is making it so that you can't. What exactly? There's just. It doesn't track. It doesn't track because your proficiency bonus does not increase as you go up on the dexterity saving throw, perhaps. And so you start making those less and less and less because you're better at magic. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. Could it happen? I'm sure there could be some way that you could do this and it would make sense. This is not the way. That's just me. He says the justification is tricky and case specific. I'm sure you could probably come up with a situation. You are clever. You are Kugel the clever. Okay, I said I was going to stop taking comments. All right. Redelk says, I kind of feel like he uses DCC or 5e with some house rules. It's very much the setting for his game. I agree with that sentiment. All right. So that's it for this. Coming up later, we're going to have some discussion on my AD&D game as it's been progressing, because I'm a degenerate who has opened into things that are more, I guess, more old school with it, including, chainmail and stuff like that, and some things that, are regressing in some ways. So, it'll be an interesting discussion. Oh, there was some other stuff too. Oh, I am giving up on my idea that I was going to create this exactly perfect, Matthew Colville style video of me going over 3 Hearts and 3 Lions, because here's the thing. I'm more interested in getting stuff done for my games than I am for editing, scripting, all that kind of stuff. I'm not a good content creator. I'm not that guy. I'm not going to be that guy. I prefer to be a gamer first. So because of that, instead, I'm probably just going to do a live stream where I just talk about the book and review it as best I can, talk about what you can learn from it with regard to your role-playing games and what you can apply. And I think that's just going to be my format for Appendix N stuff, because I'm just not that guy. For as long as I have a full-time gig, which I always will, because YouTube is never going to be a full-time gig for me, then this is just going to be videos when I can in the format that I feel like. So that is why Aaron does not do a Patreon. That is why Aaron does not get on the hook for anything. And that is why the only thing that he's obligated to do is run his AD&D games. So, yeah. Oh yeah. And being Brad Miltonic's friend. Yes, that's it. All right. Thank you guys for hanging out, and appreciate you. Take it easy and avoid Dark Souls. I'm just kidding. Pick it up if you want to. Maybe you can fix it. Maybe you can fix her. See you later, guys.